So I'm back working on this 394 and the seals. Brand new seal, just put this in. This is the flywheel side. I did not use my Coke can trick for this, so I do want to use my Coke can trick for this. But how do you do that when it's already installed? And the answer is you don't. You actually take this seal out. Now the seal looks fine, but I'm worried. So here's why I'm worried. When you put the seal in, the metal ring grabs the outside here, and it does so at the same time as the rubber seal is trying to go over this lip right here. So the problem is you actually have two things happening at once. Now if this lip was further out, like any further out, you'd be able to push this rubber piece over this lip first and then seat the outer portion, but you can't do that. So everything happens at once as you're seating this, and the problem with that is if this rubber piece gets inverted, like a third of it gets inverted, it kind of poofs out as you're trying to seat this. If somehow this doesn't get seated perfectly evenly, then the spring inside of this pops out, and the spring that holds this seal together ends up not being attached to the rubber, but actually being kind of against the bearing, and effectively the seal is no good if the spring is not holding it. So there's no way to look at it. I can't look at it from the other side because the bearing's in the way. I can't possibly tell whether it popped out or not. So to make myself feel better, I'm going to remove this perfectly good seal, or what otherwise would be a perfectly good seal, and put the new one in with my Coke can trick, and I think then I'll feel better about it because it'll be seated evenly. So here's how I remove seals. I have this hook tool, and you just jam it down in there and lift up, essentially. What you don't want to do, you do not want to scratch the magnesium, this side. If you put a gouge in the magnesium, which is easy to do by the way, put a gouge in the magnesium, then this will not seal. This metal ring here seals against the magnesium, and the rubber ring is what seals against the crank. So this just goes in here like this. You dig in and you pull up. You can work against the crank, that's strong, but the magnesium you don't want to work against. So eventually if you get some portion of it lifted up, it'll just start giving way. Once you have it lifted, you get a regular screwdriver in there. Now, as I understand it, this is not an exclusive trick to me. Other people have figured. Okay, so I've got the tube here inside the seal. I'm going to place this down and over that lip. Now it's over the lip. All the way down to the bearing. Now all I have to do is slide this down, and I'm going to twist it so it tends to not get caught. If I twist it this way, it's going to tend to get caught on this. If I twist it this way, it should be better. And twist it down nice and slow. Before we actually do this, I got an idea. I don't have a second crank. If I did, this here test would be a lot easier. It was 1697, so 17 millimeters. 668 inches roughly. 668. So let's see if we can test the theory. So check this out. I've got a socket here that actually happens to be roughly the same outer diameter as the crank. So we can actually test the Coke can gasket on here and see if it inverts or not. This socket has a very similar lip here, similar to the crank. So let's sneak that down there. And then I can sneak this down. Let's try it. So we can actually test this to see what happens. And of course the gasket moves. Actually, as long as it doesn't even matter. As long as the gasket moves, then the seal has gone over that diameter and has not inverted itself. So there's a test run. And it's successful. The spring is still in there. We're good. All right. Let's tap this one home and call it a day. So this is seated. The seal is now seated, but I need to tap it. 3/4 of an inch deep socket. Let's hit it. Just going to tap it just like this, but I need a second hand. Pause. So light taps with the hammer is all that it takes. This seats nicely, and there's no stop here, so don't seat it too far. And then I can gently remove this. So there you have it. There's a 394 seal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.